I'm not in love with Robin. But she's like family to me, and I can't end that.
The magnitude by which Victoria got played in How I Met Your Mother never ceases to upset me. Season 7 and Season 8 are so hard for me to rewatch because the sheer amount of stupid the writers start doing is enough to give me a heart attack too early in life. And when I say Victoria got played in How I Met Your Mother, I don't just mean by Ted. Oh, no. I mean the writers too. In fact, I'd argue that it's the writers who played Victoria even worse than Ted because they basically tried to write away Ted's wrongs and the significance of their relationship. It's the writers who really did Ted and Victoria as a character the biggest disservice. So, without further ado, here is How I Met Your Mother fumbled Victoria. Ted meets Victoria in season 1 at his friend Claudia and Stuart's wedding. And this is besides the point, but Claudia and Stuart had no business getting married. He is obviously an alcoholic who hates Claudia with all of his heart. Anyhow, Ted meets Victoria at their wedding, which he had harassed Claudia and Stuart to let him take Robin to, but she couldn't go. So Ted's all alone when he sees Victoria. And let me tell y'all, the minute you see Victoria, you know she's supposed to be special. The show communicates that to you, and the actress does a kick-ass job the entire series of making you feel that she's someone special. But the problem is, neither the writers or Ted treat her like she's special, and they basically say as much later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Victoria decrees that she and Ted should only have this one special night at the wedding together and never see each other again. But afterwards, y'all know Ted, the toxic romantic, of course, has to hunt her down at her bakery, and they begin a relationship that feels super significant. But they began and ended Ted and Victoria's relationship within the space of 6 episodes. She wasn't even in all of them. Just 3 episodes after they become a couple, the writers decide to send her to Germany for some baking fellowship nonsense, just to provide Ted the opportunity to cheat and return his attentions back to who he truly wants, Robin. And despite how special the audience is made to feel that Victoria is when we're first introduced to her and throughout their relationship, especially when they had Ted chasing behind at the airport to declare that they should stay together like his name is Ross Geller. When the writers do something as big as having Ted cheat on her with Robin while she's away in Germany, sending him care package after care package, they don't even do the relationship or the audience the service of allowing us to see and experience the fallout. We don't get to see or hear Victoria's reaction, how crushed she is, how Ted defended himself, nothing. Ted's not made to really deal with any true consequences for how he treated Victoria. All she got was an off-screen breakup via a phone call Ted laments was brutal for all of a second before going back to who he truly cares about, Robin. And that is purposeful. They don't want you to feel the weight of how dirty he did Victoria because they don't want anything too bad stopping you from rooting for Ted and Robin. And if they left it there, if we never heard from Victoria again, this would be fine. But the way the writers choose to bring her back, to destroy the weight of what should have been Ted's, the one who got away because Ted f***ed it up, and reduce it to something hollow, annoyed me to no end. And it was almost like the writers were bored because...
Well, what was the reason?
In season 7, Ted takes Robin to the architect's ball where he runs into Victoria, who he has not seen or spoken to since he cheated on her 6 years earlier. And in a normal world, I don't think Victoria, as a reasonable adult woman who knows how to act in public, would be cursing Ted out or acting hostile with him because so much time has passed. But I do not expect her to be love-struck and delighted to see a man that not only cheated on her, is literally there with the bitch he cheated on her with. And then said bitch says this to her.
So, I stole your boyfriend. That was like crazy. Like what? But bridge, water under it. It was on Ted's fault. He got me drunk. What? Yeah, be right there.
In a reasonable world, even if Victoria did choose to be polite, she would likely cut this interaction short and mosey on along. Instead, the writers have Victoria replying, "Oh, that's not necessary," when Ted apologizes for cheating on her. Like, bitch, what? The hell it ain't? Then, the writers decide that Ted should offer to help her clean all the dishes at her bakery to make amends for cheating. And it's there at her bakery that after washing all the dishes, Victoria finally reveals to Ted that she's engaged, or rather, about to be engaged. And the way they do this reveal is deeply annoying because Victoria starts apologizing profusely for not telling Ted earlier that she had a man because he obviously thought they were going to hook up and now he's washed all of her dishes and a bunch of Why would Victoria, a woman Ted cheated on, feel like she needs to be profusely apologizing to said man that cheated on her because she didn't tell him earlier that she can't return his advances because she's engaged, whilst he's still single because the bitch he left her for ain't even want him? In fact, The bitch who he left her for done left him and got with his best friend. What I'm trying to say to y'all is that in the real world, Victoria would probably be slick humbling this. A real gangster, like women are, would have told him when she told him. But instead of apologizing for not telling him earlier, she would have hit him with a, oh no, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you. Oh my God, I'm sorry if you got the wrong idea. I'm getting married. But no. Instead, the writers have her acting like she owed Ted anything other than a kick in the ass. So Ted starts asking her questions about her fiance and eventually learns that his name is Klaus. She met him in Germany during her baking fellowship, and they started dating the day after Ted cheated on her and dumped her. This is the first of a few ways the show writers will use Victoria's return to try to write away any and all of Ted's wrongdoing in his relationship with Victoria, because they can't seem to allow for their piece of shit protagonist to be on record as the piece of shit protagonist that he is. And what's nuts is that whilst the writers are actively trying to diminish the weight of Ted's offense of cheating on her by making it seem like Victoria would have done the same or had emotionally moved on because she met this man, Klaus. Mind you, we literally know that Victoria was sending Ted mad care packages and calling him nonstop while she was in Germany, and he was the one not returning any of that effort by his own admission. Whilst these writers are busy trying to rehabilitate Ted, they still have him doing the craziest gaslighting I ever heard in my life. Like the craziest flip the script, make himself the victim shit. This man, Ted, gonna say to her that because she moved on quickly after he cheated on her and broke up with her.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
I'm sorry.
So, I've spent the last 6 years feeling like I completely betrayed you when in truth you... No. You know what?
Okay, fine. Just let yourself off the hook on a technicality. Forget the fact that you did cheat on me.
Forget it? I will never forget it. Okay, I will never stop regretting it because what we had meant that much to me. I wish it had meant something to you too.
Ted is trying to convince this woman that he is the victim because after cheating on her and breaking up with her to pursue the woman he really loves, she dared to rebound quickly, and he's been left to feel guilty for his actions. Oh my God. And he dirties all the dishes he just finished cleaning, as though the crime of cheating on a woman isn't significant enough to warrant cleaning her dishes if she dared to move on after he cheated. Ted needs his ass beat. Olympic level gaslighter, son. And instead of having Victoria call this out, the writers have her legitimizing his nonsense by engaging it. She starts trying to convince him of how much she really loved him. And I'm over here like, what the f*** are we even talking about? Why are you trying to prove how much you love the man who proved that he didn't love you and is still maintaining a friendship with the woman he once convinced you was only his friend, only to spin around and jump at the chance to cheat on you with her? Victoria. And then, as if they hadn't pissed me the f*** off enough, they have Victoria effectively cheating on the man she's about to marry by kissing a who dogged her 6 years ago. What? And what makes me madder about all of this and the events to come is that I know Victoria knows better because the bitch tells us she does. Because after sharing this despicable ass kiss, Ted takes Victoria to the LIRR, where he asks her to stay with him, and Victoria literally announces the common sense we all know. She tells him that the reason she and Ted's relationship didn't work out is the same reason all of his other relationships didn't work out, and it's because of Robin. And she tells him that this thing he and Barney are doing, where they pretend to be just friends with Robin and hang out night after night at the bar together, is not healthy and it's not gonna work, and she leaves. Does it even make sense that a woman with such clarity about Ted and his Robin bullshit would risk her relationship to kiss Ted one time? No, it does not. But as stupid and annoying as that assault on Victoria's character was, I could have gotten over it had the writers made that the last time we ever saw Victoria, because they at least allowed her to have a strong final moment by telling Ted exactly what's what and leaving him behind to go into her next chapter. But no. They clearly had Victoria's legacy on their list of shit to destroy for no reason, because there was no reason to bring her back if she wasn't going to be endgame. If they were not going to finally show us why they made us feel that she was so special, that she and Ted were so special, there was no reason to bring her back. After Marshall and Lily have their baby, Ted does what he usually does and turns all his friends' big moments into an opportunity to be sad it's not happening for him. It is literally a vicious cycle with Ted. The show begins with him feeling sorry for himself because Marshall and Lily got got engaged whilst he's still single, then declaring he's on a quest to find the one, only to spend the next million seasons acting terrified if he gets anywhere near commitment. And now, in season 7, he's in the hospital insisting he wants a child, and it's then that Robin finally says the realest shit she ever said. Robin said, "That's cat, you're full of shit." She says to him, "You claim you want the one, to be married with kids, but it's incredibly clear you don't want those things based on the women you choose to pursue. Starting with me." Robin literally said, "Starting with me. You literally knew I did not want to be married or have children, that Stella had an ex she loved, that Zoe was married and trying to destroy your career." And let me tell y'all something, we are gonna talk about Zoe another day because she's Ted's worst girlfriend and I cannot stand that bitch anyway. Robin tells him that the only woman he was ever involved with him that could have even possibly been the one was Victoria, and he f***ed that up to cheat on her with a bitch who never wanted what he wanted. Listen, I couldn't have said it better myself. And let me tell you something, that speech is precisely the reason there should have never been any more attempts to try to make fetch happen with Ted and Robin. She laid it out plain as day why she was clearly not the one for him. So, Robin urges Ted to call Victoria even though it's been 8 months since he saw her and she's likely engaged by now. And this is where I decided that the How I Met Your Mother writer's room needed to squabble up. Because tell me why these mother had Victoria, who when we last saw her had all the sense in the world and laid it out plainly why she and Ted and no one else in Ted could ever work, leaves her wedding to meet Ted at McLaren's to ask them to run away together.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Mind you, not only has nothing materially changed, Ted is still in love with Robin, Barney is still in love with Robin, and they're all still hanging out every night at the bar, but Ted literally picks up the phone and calls Robin the moment Victoria goes to the bathroom, and he even calls her and his other codependent ass friends down to the bar. And if it wasn't bad enough that they reduced Victoria to a stupid bitch, ready to risk it all for a man she dated for a few months in her 20s till he cheated on and dumped her, the writers don't even want you to feel the weight of that decision. Listen, deciding to be a runaway bride is serious business. Deciding to stop a woman from marrying another man, to pursue a relationship with a woman who is just about to marry another man is big shit. You have to be serious about this relationship to do something this big, to leave so much destruction and devastation in your path. But the writers knew that they had no intention of taking Ted and Victoria's relationship serious, so they write away all the stakes by making it so when Ted returns to the chapel where Victoria was getting married so that he could leave a goodbye note from Victoria to Klaus, he meets Klaus running away too. How convenient. And just like that, the weight of what's happening, that Victoria is leaving a potential marriage with a man who's loved her for 6 years for an uncertain future with a fickle Ted that dated her for a couple of months that she knows loves Robin, is reduced to meaning nothing. What happened to Victoria by choosing Ted over Klaus is what I imagine would have happened to Stella had she chosen Ted over Tony. Also, for the people who love to victimize Ted and his relationship with Stella, I think it's worth mentioning that he and Victoria were prepared to do exactly what Tony and Stella did. The writers just chose to try to make them seem innocent by having Klaus just seemingly not care about a woman he'd spent 6 years with and was about to marry. And for those who think Tony vilified Ted in his movie, I also think it's worth pointing out that while Ted and Victoria are running away, he revealed that he attached a letter that Stella wrote him to a brick that he threw through Stella and Tony's window, which was new information to us. So imagine what kind of shit Ted did in his relationship with Stella and afterwards that he failed to mention in this story to his children, but that Stella probably did tell Tony anyway. And the writers take it a step further, like it's not bad enough. They take it a big step further. Not only do they have her groom run away, Ted goes after him at the train stop to ask him why he's not marrying Victoria even though she seems like a great girl. He asks him how he knows she's not the one, because Ted is really asking for himself. Because even as he's supposed to be riding off into the sunset with Victoria, he knew he wasn't sold on her. Called this woman 6 years later and still ain't sold. And then Klaus responds by telling him that Victoria isn't the one. She's what he'd describe as the woman that's almost what you want. Oh, I say that right there is the greatest disrespect this show has ever paid Victoria. Why? Why do her like this? So she's neither the one for Ted nor the one for Klaus? She was with this man for 6 years and they loved each other and were gonna get married, but in order to drive forward a relationship with she and Ted, which the writers fully intended to drive smack dab into a wall, they decided to have it that she was discarded by Ted for Robin, and the man who she moved on with also didn't see her as his first choice? What the f? And then Victoria and Ted get back together only to inevitably end. And we knew the writers weren't serious about them because, again, in their efforts to remove the stakes and the seriousness of how Victoria and Ted got back together, they have Klaus move in with them and turn him into this buffoon of a character that, despite spending 6 years together and having just been about to get married, is running about Ted and Victoria's apartment with absolutely no residual romantic feelings or tension between he and Victoria. It's pissed me right off. A bunch of hogwash. Then, despite the fact that Victoria already knew and declared to Ted that they would never work because of Robin and that he needed to stop hanging out with her and pretending to be a friend, yet somehow decided to blow up her marriage and be with Ted even though Robin was just as present as before, and she goes on dating Ted without raising this as an issue. She decides to give him an ultimatum, telling him that he has to end his friendship with Robin right after he proposes, and she says yes.
There's just one thing.
Anything, you name it.
You can't be friends with Robin. There's just too much history there. I mean, Robin's the reason that we broke up the first time around. Robin's our roadblock. Robin's the deep, dark pit where our relationship goes to die.
I just asked you to be my wife. Isn't that proof there's nothing between me and Robin?
Well, maybe today there isn't, but what about tomorrow? Or next week? Or 15 years from now?
Huh?
And what does Ted do? You guessed it. He picked the same bitch he always picked over. And again, I say to the writers,
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
and I would be remiss if I did not mention that while Ted was busy breaking up with Victoria to keep Robin, Robin was off preoccupied with Barney, who she really wanted to be with, because Ted has never, ever, ever been Robin's first choice. It made absolutely no sense that they would have Victoria choose that moment to suddenly make this ultimatum. But she is spitting when she makes it. But the problem with everything that she's saying is she already knew all of that when she decided to blow up her wedding to get back together with Ted. And she knew it when she started muscling Ted to propose. And she didn't raise any of that then because the writers clearly hate her and us. And it's worth mentioning just how right Victoria was that Ted might choose her then, but how did she know he won't want to choose Robin in 15 years? Because, well, we know how this show ends, but back to the writers. You use Robin to end their relationship in season 1. You rightly use Robin to end any chance of a reconnection for them in season 7. So why bring them back together in season 8 just to use Robin to end them again? Haven't we already done that? The How I Met Your Mother writers took the legacy of Victoria and desecrated it, and I will never forgive them for it. To all my longtime fans who love my cat Raheem, and I think some of y'all even love Raheem more than me, child, but to all of y'all, you can finally get your own Raheem plushie. I partnered with YouTooz to do a limited drop, so you have until March 11th to get your own. They are so cute, and honestly, they're actually really fucking big. A nice good old big Raheem head. They're so cute. Get your own, and when you do, please tag me when you get yours. Y'all should subscribe to the Patreon. I put, for the people who want to hear me doing all my cursing, we put the uncensored versions of every recap on the Patreon. So do that.